Hi, I'm Debbie Pokornik, and I am here today for day 4 of our Mother's Day Marathon. Today, I'm going to be talking about resiliency because it is such an important topic for all of us to know about, to understand, to tune into, to recognize. And so I want to give you some tips so that you are aware of what kinds of things you might be doing that are affecting your own resiliency and that of your child. Tomorrow I'm going to talk about bullying because bullying is such a big issue for so many people. And what's really important to me is that you understand how you can be most effective as a parent if a child comes to you with a situation that sounds like he or she is being bullied. And so I really want you to have the tools that you need in order to be most effective. Monday's session was on discipline, so hopefully you caught that one because it is quite a surprise, I think, for some people that discipline isn't about tools. It really is about a mindset more than anything. Tuesdays was about yelling and why yelling doesn't really work, what you can do differently if you want to do it differently, what it's stealing from you. If you're doing it and not even realizing it, at least know what it's stealing from you. And then yesterday was on helping using those situations where kids aren't getting along, whether it's with their sibling, with their classmate, with the neighbor down the road, it doesn't matter, but using those as opportunities for your kids to learn the skills that they're going to need in order to build those relationships throughout their life. And so what you'll find is that all of these videos kind of tie together and reinforce some of the very important pieces, because when it comes to being the parent that you truly want to be, it is about understanding how these things work. And so a lot of these pieces really do tie together. So the Mother's Day Marathon month started because of my Vibrant Powerful Moms podcast. I decided to interview 4 guests who I felt could really give you some value about being the best parent that you can be. And then I decided that I wanted to do more than that. So I created an online gift package, which you can get off of my website at empoweringnrg.com. That's 3 letters, NRG. It actually stands for Natural Realistic Guidance, for those of you who might be wondering by now why NRG. I actually, and a play on words, right? I love play on words. And so energy. It was fun. empoweringnrg.com. And you'll find that there is a bright pink heart on the right-hand side if you're on a computer. And you can click it. It just says Mother's Day gift. And so you click it, it'll take you to a sign-up page. You sign up and you will have access to different cheat sheets and infographics and ebooks and games. There's some family booster shot cards on there. There's the videos. All 5 of these video links will all be there along with the podcasts or whatever that support them. So you can go as deep as you want into all the things that I'm talking about, or you can just stick with the surface with just a little idea or a little reminder that you would get from these videos. So don't forget to go there and get that or sign up for the gift. And it will be up for May, all of May. But once May is done, the sign up opportunity will be gone. You will still have access to the page for a little bit longer than that, but the sign up opportunity itself will be gone. Okay, so today I want to talk about resiliency, because really that is our ability, or your ability, to know that you can handle whatever life throws your way. Okay, so it's knowing, it's that connection to your own ability to bounce back, to figure out a plan when things aren't going the way you'd like them to go, to know that you can survive a really difficult situation. Now, I know for me, one of the things that I needed to really test out in this lifetime was my resiliency. And I know that because of the things that have happened, like losing my house to a flood, getting caught on a chairlift on a ski hill and then falling, to the ground, having a situation with a boyfriend that was pretty much abusive and getting into drugs and all of that. So these situations are not easy situations, and yet you manage to to deal with them, to overcome them. And I guess a lot of people, I didn't even think of this one, but a lot of people would put the fact that I have a transgender son in there, that's a very difficult situation. And it is in some ways for me, because he was 19 when he came out, it was a no-brainer because I love my child and I'm going to be there for them no matter what gender they are. So it wasn't a huge deal. It was just me supporting them. However, my point is, I have been through several situations in my life that have forced me to really hold tight to my own sense of I can make it through this. And that's what resiliency is. Now, you've probably heard stories of other people where, they just have horrific thing after horrific thing happen in their life. And we usually hear about them after they have survived it. And now they're writing a book about it or making a movie about it because it's such a great story, right? But the reality is, when you look at their story, there's always a point where they kind of, they don't believe in themselves and they kind of hit rock bottom. And when they hit there, they go, okay, I have to do something. Nobody else is able to swoop in and save me. I have to be the one to do it. And when you really recognize that, when you really hold tight to that, you are fully connected to your resiliency in that moment. You're believing in your own ability to handle or to figure out whatever it is you need to do to deal with that situation. And that is what is going to help you to recover or to do whatever it is you need to do. And that's what comes out in all of these books and all of these stories. They might not call it resiliency, but that's what they needed to do, was really reconnect to their own belief, their own knowing that they can handle it. Well, you can see, for obvious reasons, we really want our kids to have this beautiful, strong connection to their own sense that they can handle whatever life throws their way. But that's hard to do, especially if our own sense of resiliency is all mucked up. And so you're actually born, right, with this disability, this sense of resiliency. But it starts to get mucked up really early. We start to, I often say that people are like slinging all this gunk at it, and they're coating it up so that it kind of gets covered, and it's harder and harder and harder for you to feel that connection, that knowing that you'll be okay. You might not like what you're going through. It might hurt a lot. It might force you to change things that you really didn't want to change. It might cause you to let go of things that you really didn't want to let go of. But when you believe that no matter what, you will make it through, you will survive, then you are so much stronger. You are so much more capable. You're able to think things through. You're not in fight and flight all the time. You're able to be more in that rest and digest, that confidence, that courage, that knowledge that you can do it. And that's really where you're supposed to be operating from. And I don't mean that as a judgment. I mean it as you're deserving of this. You are meant to feel resilient and strong and powerful and connected throughout this lifetime. And when you don't feel that way, all of the bumps and curves and waterfalls and things that are in your journey, oh, they feel so much bigger, so much more powerful, so hard. And you can just feel that overwhelm, that sense of, I can't do this. You can start to believe that you're a victim. You can start to feel as if you're just not capable. And you are. That's the real kicker. You always have been. So I talk in different podcasts and interviews, and there's just a lot of articles that I've written on this particular topic. And I don't want to spend all our time today talking about that. I like to give you tips and tools and ideas for how you can use this as your Mother's Day gift. So if you want more information, when you go to the online gift basket for Mother's Day, you will find some links to those. They're all free. They're all podcast interviews, articles that I've written for Easy, and people like that, or places like that, I should say, that you can listen to them for free as well if you want some more information. Okay? So let me talk about how we get all glummed up, because this is probably what's happening for your kids right now. When we start to believe that the world is a scary place and that we need protection in order to be able to survive it, that's where we have really started to disconnect from our own sense of resiliency. And a lot of the things that we do and say with our kids actually hugely influence us. And there's simple things that you wouldn't even think. Like, for example, when your child is crawling on the couch, let's say, climbing up on the couch. Maybe they're like 2 years old and they're climbing up on the couch and you go, oh, careful, you might fall. Okay. You're pointing out one thing that could happen that could hurt. But for the child, I mean, whether they might not even hear you, but if they do, they can internalize this message of I'm breakable, right? I need to be careful because if I fall off a couch onto a carpeted floor, I could be hurt. Now, I'm not suggesting I get it. You might have a coffee table there. You might have hardwood floors. You might have all kinds of things, reasons to want to argue with me and say, no, I need to protect my child. Okay, well, perhaps. But on the other hand, hasn't there been times where your child has fallen down? You couldn't control it. You couldn't stop it from happening. So saying those kinds of things, careful, oh, that's really dangerous. Get away from there, when it's not really dangerous. It's different when your child is taking a fork and going for the outlet, right? That's different. That's a good time to say, dangerous, put it down, and then go over and explain to them, wow, that was really scary. It's bad, dangerous. That could really hurt you. Or maybe you take them away because they're a little baby and talking to them isn't going to do anything. Whatever. That's not the point of this. The point is that when we give out messages of danger and there really isn't that huge danger, we are slinging goo at their resiliency. When we tell them not to be honest, like, maybe you're in a mall, you're going through the mall, and there's a person there in a wheelchair. And your child turns to you right as you walk past and looks at you and says, Mommy, why don't his legs work? And you look at your child and you go, oh, honey, that's very rude. You don't talk that way. I'm so sorry. He's just a child. And you walk away all embarrassed. Well, in that moment, what did your child get? Don't be honest. Like, he was just asking a question. And we've been taught, we're teaching our kids because we've been taught this, that, oh, don't you be honest. Don't you ask that question. That is rude. In reality, it might have been okay for you to just say, honey, I really don't know. And I don't even know that it's any of my business, but I just, I'm going to smile and keep on walking like I would anybody else, whether they're in a wheelchair or not. You can decide how you're going to respond, how you're going to help your child through that. But the point is, in that moment where you tell them not to be honest, you're throwing gunk at their resiliency. When you say things like, I don't want to do this, but I have no choice. That is saying that there aren't choices. There's always, always choices. And the sooner you start allowing your child to make choices, the more capable they're going to feel. That connects them with their resiliency. So rather than saying things like, I have no choice, you could say, okay, I'm not liking any of my choices right now. However, I have to make a decision, and here's what I choose. Or, these are the choices I see. Does anybody see any other choices? I could really use your help. By talking that way, we're sort of saying, I wonder how this could work out in my favor, or how this could work out in a way that I can even handle, right? When we start saying, I have no choice, I have to do it, we're sending a message to our child that, yeah, no, there's not always a choice. Sometimes you just have to do things. And I know you might be listening to this and even going, yeah, there is times, very rare, very, very rare. You always have a choice, to how you're going to react, how you're going to internalize the information you're receiving, what you're going to do with that information. And when you stay fully connected to your resiliency, you open the door to all kinds of possibility. So thinking along those lines, you might want to start thinking about, okay, so how do I step in right now when my child has a problem? Can't open a jar, or doesn't know how to dial the phone or whatever. What do I do right now? Maybe you walk over there and you just do it for them, which sometimes you have to because of expediency, right? You're making supper, your daughter just open the jar. So sometimes you do, but not all the time. In fact, there's plenty of times where you could probably say, do you want my help? How about you hold the bottom and I'll try turning the top, and maybe you hold a little bit too. We'll do it together. So you're showing them, you're believing in them, and you're kind of giving them that message that you could do it, but it's okay for you to get my help sometimes too. I remember when my youngest was in a very young grade, let's just say grade 1, okay? And we had to do some kind of exercise right at the beginning of school. It was something to the effect of what motivates you. That was not the words that the teacher used, but it was to that effect. And so we're talking about it, and he started to cry. And he said, I don't want to do this. Nothing motivates me. I don't want to go to school. And so we had a little conversation. And what came out of that conversation was that his teacher she was very French. Okay. He went to a French immersion school, and she had a really loud voice, and she often used it to keep the kids' attention. And my son felt like he was yelling at her if he was yelling at him when this was happening. And so my child felt like the teacher hated him, that it was a really big problem, that he didn't want to go to school, that he was scared, he wasn't used to yelling, all of this kind of stuff. So we sat down and we talked about it. Now, it's very easy as a parent to want to jump in front of them. Okay, where you're protecting them. Get behind me, honey. I'll look after this. I will call your teacher. I will talk to your teacher. I will straighten it out. That's where we often want to go. And I've kind of mentioned this already, I think, in the other videos. But if we can instead get behind our child, and that's what I did, is I said, so what would you like to do about this? He said, I just don't want to go to school. And I said, well, and I talked about the reasons. And he said, what else could you do? And so he said, could you talk to her? And I said, well, I could, but what would I be talking to her about? And so we had a whole conversation about it. And then I did go in. I asked him to come with me, but he didn't want to. And I went in and I had a conversation with the teacher. And the conversation with the teacher was a very supportive conversation of, okay, I want you to understand that I don't think you're necessarily being mean to the kids and yelling at the kids, but that's how my child is perceiving it. And until he understands that that's not what is going on here, he's not going to be able to concentrate at school. He's not going to be able to take in what you're saying. He doesn't want to go to school. So would you be willing to work with me to try to figure out a way that we can help my child so that, he doesn't drop out at grade 1? And so that's an example of me getting behind him and supporting him rather than jumping in front and right away protecting him. Okay, so you see how that ties into the stuff we've already been talking about. It's allowing him to be part of the solution. And really, that's what it comes down to. When we're talking about helping our child stay connected to their resiliency, we want to give them lots of opportunities to practice problem solving. Saying to them, so what are your options? What are the different ways that you could handle this? What do you think you should do? I wonder if we could look that up on the computer. I wonder if Grandpa knows anything about that. Maybe, what if you call Grandpa? So you're giving ideas, you're giving suggestions, but the underlying message that's coming through all the time, and this one comes from Barbara Coloroso, is, I know you can handle this. I am here to support you. Sometimes I will have to speak on your behalf, but I know you can handle this. So how can I help you in that? The more you do that, the stronger they feel, and the more connected to their resiliency they are, the less likely they are to take things personally and see things as their fault. It just makes for a much, much happier life when you can feel this sort of connection to your own personal power. Okay? So that is what resiliency is all about in a nutshell. I wanted to share with you two quick tips today, and I think one of them I'm going to record separately and put it on that Moms Group page. It's something called a worry container, and basically it's just a little guided, it's not even a meditation, it's like a visualization where you're actually going to let your worries come to the surface and you're going to put them into a container, and then you're going to put that container away. So I will create a little audio recording of that. I already have one somewhere, but I might just do a new one instead. It'll be faster. And put that up there for you that you can use. Just listen to it and give it a try if it interests you. And then you don't have to listen to it every time. You can use that container on your own. You don't need my voice there in order to do it, okay? But the worry container is one way to help you start to reconnect with your own resiliency if you're disconnected from it, or if you worry a lot. And you know what? Here's the reality. If you worry a lot, you're probably feeling pretty disconnected from your resiliency. Because when you feel resilient, when you know you can handle whatever life throws your way, where you're confident you'll make it through, you spend a lot less time worrying about things, right? So if you notice you're in fear a lot, you're watching TV and you're thinking, oh, this is so awful. This is so scary. I can't believe this is happening. Not only are you throwing gunk at your child's resiliency, but you're also putting yourself more in that role. And then that sets you up to be a victim, and that's not a fun place to be. You don't want to go there. The other thing I wanted to share with you is something I created. It's a tool. It's called the Worry Map. And this map I created for it doesn't matter what I created it for. What matters is that it is on that page, the Mom's Online Gift. So you can get it off of there. And what it is if you worry a lot, this is a great way for you to start noticing when you're worrying and help you to deal with it effectively so that you can connect more with your resiliency. And so basically the worry map says, is it yours? And if it's not yours, like if it's you're worried about your child, how they're going to do at school that day, if you're worried about your husband and the meeting that he's having, if you're worried about your mother because she's driving out over to see you and it's snowing out or whatever, you're putting energy into something you have absolutely zero control over. So if it's not your worry, if you're worried about your friend, if you're worried about the weather, if you're worried about something totally outside of your control, then the answer is no. And when the answer is no, let it go. Okay? So on the other side, let's just say it is your worry. Okay, then I'm just going to quickly say this, and you can get your own copy and then you'll be able to look at it. If it is yours, yes, is there something you can do about it? If there's nothing you can do about it, okay, you're worried about the weather because you have 25 people coming over for a picnic and they won't all fit in your house and you're not sure. So is there something you can do about it? If there's nothing you can do about it, then no, let it go, right? If the answer is yes, are you willing to do it? Could you fit that many people in your house? Where could you fit them? Could you get that room set up? Could you, ask a friend if you could go to their place instead? There's, whatever. Are you willing to do it? If the answer is no, let it go. Sometimes you won't be willing to do it. But if that's the case, there's no use worrying about it. It's silly to worry about something and not be willing to do something about it. Okay? And then if the answer is yes, then do it. And then it goes to, did it work? If it worked, yes, then celebrate. If it didn't work, then you either say, let it go, or tweak it and try it again. Okay, so the part that I wanted to go over just a little bit more is this let it go has three things. One of them is that worry container that I talked about. So one way to let it go is to use the worry container exercise and to put the worry into that container. Let it go. There's nothing you can do about it right now, or there's nothing you're willing to do about it right now, or you tried to do something and it didn't work. And so now it's time to just put it in there. See what happens, because time does change things. We all know that. And if you don't do that, you're putting a lot of energy into trying to fix something just through negative thinking. It's not going to happen. You're just taking all the power out of your moment, and you're putting it, well, you're taking it all out of the moment and putting it into the future where you can't even have access to it, really. Okay. You're also modeling for your child, right? And so they see you worrying about everything. Ooh, life must be scary. There must be scary things going on, right? The second thing of the let it go is to change your thoughts. And there's a little bit more to that, but I want you to know we've already been doing that this week. When I talked about discipline and how discipline is really a mindset, when you look at the difference between discipline and punishment, it's not about the tools that you're using so much as it is your thinking about parenting, the way that if you want to guide your children or if you just want to get compliance from your children. And so that is changing your thoughts on something. There's no use worrying about, for example, worrying whether or not your child is learning to be disciplined if you're not ever using discipline with them. You might as well not worry about it unless you're willing to do something about it. And that would be cool. There's also things, and these are some of my family booster shot cards, which I've brought up a few times because they are set up to provide you with activities and things you can do with your kids to ensure that your family time is quality time. And the whole idea is to teach these skills. So one of them is on perspective shifting and on figuring out how to look at things different. Another one is actually called building resiliency. There's one on recognizing your supports. This is really a big one when it comes to changing your thinking about something. If you feel like you're not supported by other people, sometimes sitting down and just brainstorming, okay, what supports do I have in my life? What do I have to fall back on? Who are the people that could help me? And sometimes it's like, Uncle John could help me, my neighbor Sam could help me, and it's actual people. But sometimes there might be a community resource that you could turn to. It might be something, out there that's available to you as a safety net as part of our government plans, or depending on where you live, on the plans that you guys have there. So tuning in to the resources you have is a great way to start helping you feel more resilient and stopping you from worrying. So change your thoughts. And then the final one of the let it go is to accept it. And acceptance can be really, really hard. But when we can accept that this is what is happening, it's neither good nor bad, it is simply happening. Then you can accept it. And once you fully accept it, you'll find that all the power that was going into trying to not have it be real can now be yours to use to try to figure out, okay, I wonder what I can do instead. So it is a way to help you detach from the worry and redistribute that power to where you actually can make a difference. I wonder what I could do. I wonder what I most need to do next. I had an experience where I fell off a chairlift, and I had to really work hard to accept, first of all, that it was happening. I did everything in my power to try to stop this chairlift that is huge. It's a great big machine. I tried to stop it. And that was a bad move because I kind of stretched out my elbows, my arms, my shoulders by trying to fight against it so it wouldn't pull me over the net and then over the ski hill below. And you sometimes you just need to accept what's going on. It was the moment when I realized that I needed to get myself down, that nobody else could swoop in and save me, that I really reconnected with my own resiliency and thought, you know what, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let go of the rail. I'm going to shimmy through my jacket, and so on and so forth. And so I had to come up with a plan. It was my tuck and roll plan. I often refer to it. But the point is, it involved me accepting reality for what it was. Because when you're putting energy into fighting reality, it is just stealing from you. Okay, and that is a much longer story that I could share. And not about the chairlift, I mean about the tuck and roll and about what what you can learn from a situation like that. So thank you so much for listening. I really hope that you were able to pluck a few gems out of this session and to be able to use them to help you notice, okay, am I talking in a way that is showing, helping me connect with my own resiliency? Is it helping my child to stay connected? Or am I glomming up both of us? Am I feeling like a victim? Am I believing that I'm unable to handle it? Whatever you do, whatever little bits you notice, I really encourage you to give yourself a pat on the back for every little thing that you do that helps you to move forwards, to increase your awareness, to move towards being the parent that you really want to be. Because the more you do that, the better you will feel. The more of a habit this will become, the more you will attract positive things to you. And you're worth it. You're doing the best you can with what you know in this moment in time. And nobody can ask for anything more. So until tomorrow, where we're going to talk about bullying, I'm Debbie Pokornik. Please make sure you go to my website, empoweringenergy.com, and pick up your online gift basket. If you haven't done so already, you have until the end of May to get it. I hope you have an absolutely awesome rest of your day.